Hello and welcome. I'm Kristen Steginga, Editor-in-Chief of the Journal of Pediatric Hematology Oncology Nursing. Pam Hines asked me if I would come today and give you a few words about writing, why we write. So it is truly my privilege to be here with you on this exciting day. So a little bit about me. It's kind of a funny writing story and gives you a chance to get to know me just a little bit. When I was in college, I was an English major, and I loved being an English major, but what I really wanted to do with that was write. And so one day as I was contemplating my future, I realized I didn't have anything to write about. So I decided that I should change majors and become a nurse because I was certain that nurses had something to write about. Truly the silliest reason for the best decision I ever made in my life. And as a researcher who really loves adolescents and young adults, that 19-year-old not fully developed frontal lobe making a decision like that, it's hilarious to me now, looking back. But as an editor, when I think about what I would want to tell you about why we write, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is knowledge sharing. We need to record what we've learned and share it with others. You can talk to other people about what you've learned, but until you've written it down, it doesn't have the longevity that is really necessary. When you've talked to a person about your research or your quality improvement project or your process paper or whatever, you've shared that knowledge and that's fabulous. But really, until you've written it down, you don't have a record that people can go back to and see what you said, see what you learned, that kind of thing. So it's really important to the longevity of your work that you publish it. And even when you present it at a conference, again, still wonderful, really important thing to do. But if you haven't written it, if it's not in a journal somewhere, then the longevity is not there. And that can really be a problem for when we're trying to really see the state of the science. If your work isn't reflected there, then it can be overlooked, even if you already know the answer to something somebody else is exploring. So that's really compelling reason to write. As a writer, again, knowledge sharing, you have done this project, whatever it is, in whatever specialty you practice in. And unless you share it and write it, it doesn't have that longevity. The other thing that's really funny about writing, when you think about it from a writer's perspective, is I really think it helps you hone your thoughts. And that might sound silly because when you sit down to write a paper, you've already had the thoughts, you've done the project, you have the results, all that kind of stuff. But when you think about the process think of that first draft of your work, and then think about what the final paper looks like. In the middle there, you have really honed your thinking, and you are much clearer at the end about what you know, what you need to know, and future directions than you were when you started. And really, papers are kind of set up to do that. You start with an introduction, and you need to make a compelling case for why you did what you did. Then you tell people what you actually did. And then when you get to the discussion, it's why does this matter? Who cares? And those are the opportunities to really hone what you've learned, what you think next steps are, and really, take that knowledge out into the world. So it's kind of cool because obviously it's set up to give the reader that stuff, but I think as you're writing it, you get a chance to hone that as well. So you've come to this place today to celebrate. You're, both physically and in this time in your life. So you're here in this room to celebrate this event, but we're compelled to come and participate in this time in your life for a reason. And I think that is really beautiful. We ask questions as we practice because we want to understand how to do things the very best way we can. And so we kind of hearken back to those things we learned in childhood, the who, what, when, where, why, and how questions. How can I make this better? Where is the best place to receive this treatment? Why do we do this thing that we do? And is it really the best? And that can be, the starting point for a project. Speaking of writing, Stephen King, I always think it's funny that he says this just based on the type of literature that he writes. But he really says that the scariest moment in writing is always just before you start. And you've already done that. You've already started. And that's awesome. So the scariest thing is behind you. And then you have this community around you. The other people who are here today, maybe you don't all study the same thing. Probably you don't. But maybe in the course of this process, you have met people, you have learned new skills, you have found other people who think the same as you or don't think the same as you and challenge each other. But you're building a community of place because your institution has placed a high premium on you're doing this work. They've supported this as important to their work and yours. And then you've found like-minded people who are also trying to make things better for the populations that they serve. And now you have this shared identity as writers. So it's really great to be able to lean into a community of people who you've met through this process. The other thing that's really important to remember is that writing is a practice. Perseverance is a great element of success. When you think about where you are right now, maybe this is the first paper you ever wrote. Congratulations. Maybe you're still working on it. Again, congratulations. But when I think about Pam Hines, for instance, your fearless leader, she did not come fully formed to your institution as a magnificent writer. She honed her craft over years. And I know I'm not alone in the people who wish they could grow up to be her. But she learned it the same way that you are. She honed her craft, she practiced, she wrote, she improved. That is something that any and all of you can do. And it's really important that you hear that because you can do this. Some people do come with sort of more innate skill to write, but that doesn't mean that if you don't have that innate skill that you can't learn it. So it's really important to realize that and know that you can do it, believe that you can do it. And you don't have to be an expert to write. Certainly you become an expert as you do it, but you don't have to be an expert to start. Again, that honing process, that doing the project and everything is the way that you get to that more expert place in your practice. And it leads you to ask more questions. And inevitably, every project seems to lead to something else. And isn't that fun? In this time of artificial intelligence, I feel also like I need to address that. Artificial intelligence can technically write your paper for you. Technically. But artificial intelligence cannot replace the thoughts in your head, the experiences you've had that have led you to this place, the questions that you asked because you are a practicing human being. And so artificial intelligence can't replace you as a writer. There's the ethical side of this. It's not ethical to have artificial intelligence write a paper for you. That's wrong. It can help you sort of edit the work, make it sound clearer if you're struggling with, exactly how to put the words together. But it is not a substitute for writing, and it can't write your papers for you. One of the things that we're learning as there is this greater use of AI in writing is that when people rely on AI to do their writing for them, that their brains shrink, that their thought processes change, and they become less able to think. One of the things that really helps us develop our brains is, in fact, writing. And typing what you're writing is great, but honestly, the best way to translate your thinking and hone your thought processes is actually to take pen to paper. You don't have to do that for the whole thing. You don't have to write longhand your entire process, but write it, write things, make notes, use your pen and paper, because this research has shown that that helps develop your brain, and that the lack of that use, particularly with ChatGPT and those sorts of programs, can really have an impact on your future ability to think. So congratulations. Best of luck. It's truly been an honor to be here with you. And I look forward to seeing what you're all going to share with the world. Thanks.